American Fugitive by Shingo Zhang. Chapter 30 HuaRong. Prior to abandoning Armed Police 22, Ren-Yee saw a cargo ship going downstream. He drove Armed Police 22 toward the ship, which carried the name Shillong 708, and looked like a 1,000-ton ship. "This is it, thank God." Ren-Yee turned off the engine and jumped into the Yangtze River. The ship's port side was lined up by a bunch of tires, some of which were close to the water line. Ren-Yee swam towards the tires. He grabbed the edge of a tire with his left hand. His body was dragged by the boat in the water. The waves hit his head and face. He couldn't open his eyes and felt suffocated, but he managed to hang on with both hands. Then he got his body out of water, and quietly climbed onto the ship's deck, without getting noticed by the crew of Shillong 708. Shillong 708 had 2 cargo bays filled with wooden boxes, which were piled up about 6 feet above the deck. 2 huge tarps covered over the boxes, with edges tied to the deck by ropes. The bridge was at the stern. Ren-Yee walked toward the bow, while avoiding being seen by anyone on the ship. Ren-Yee sat on the deck by the cargo bay edge under the tarp. People inside the bridge couldn't see him at all. Visibility on the river was low. Ren-Yee had put on his shirt and jeans. He curled up to keep warm in the wind. Quite tired, he closed his eyes and rested. After a while, the rain stopped. But the sky still looked gloomy. In the command center of Wuhan Public Security Bureau, police raids in various places were displayed on big screens. The screen at the bottom left corner showed a tugboat dragging Maritime 31 patrol boat with only its bow and cabin top exposed above water. The next screen showed policemen retreating from the riverbank. Lu Wenhui was about to swear. Realizing Director Peng was also in the room, he quickly swallowed his curse words, and punched on the conference table instead. Director Peng sighed helplessly and asked, "How would he leave the country?" "He may go through Hong Kong." Lu Wenhui replied with a shrug. Ren-Yee sat under the tarp for an hour. Rain started again. He felt the pain from the wounds, and hated Xiao Zichang and his men. Those animals! He knew that hiding in the water earlier was no help for healing. He sticked his head out and looked to the right. He saw a pier and a building on the bank with a big sign, HuaRong Port. When he was in middle school, he used to take free rides on cargo ships, and passed through the port several times, with fond memories. On one such trip, he asked the captain, "Is this the place where Cao Cao was defeated?" The captain was an old man. "Sounds like you read Romance of the Three Kingdoms." Ren-Yee nodded. The captain recited a poem in the book. Cao Man was defeated and went to HuaRong. On a narrow road he meets Guan Gong. Remembering Chao's kindness years ago, Guan unlocked the golden lock and let the dragon go. "Is there a Guan Gong today?" Ren-Yee had no answer. What if armed police force suddenly showed up? He prayed to God that would not happen. He could only pray. He knew that Jin Yong-Shee must have prayed for his safety as well. This is it. If Chaomengde can escape at HuaRong, I can too. He took off his shirt and jeans and stuffed them back into the plastic bag. Attaching the plastic bag to his belt, he walked to the edge of the deck, and jumped into the Yangtze River in the rain. No one on the ship saw him leaving, just as no one saw him getting on. Ren-Yee was hungry when he sat on the deck. But he was no longer hungry as he swam toward the bank. After swimming for half an hour, he reached the shore. As he walked, he touched his chin and found mud. He washed it off using rain water. There were small trees on the empty beach. After taking out his shirt and jeans and putting them on, he walked over the embankment and into the town. Only a few pedestrians were on the road. Each of them had an umbrella and was in a hurry. Ren-Yee called a taxi, which took him to a shopping mall. Not many customers were in the mall. He went inside a clothing store and bought shirts, jeans, sunglasses, hat and other stuffs. He then got in another store and bought hydrogen peroxide, cotton swabs and a plastic wash tub. A few minutes later, inside a stall in a men's room, he washed himself using tap water he collected in the plastic tub. After cleaning, he refilled the tub with clean water and started cleaning the wounds on his body and applying hydrogen peroxide on them. After putting on clean clothes, he walked out of the mall wearing the hat. The rain had stopped, and it was sunny. He put on his sunglasses. Ren-Yee went into a restaurant for a simple meal. He made a Wi-Fi phone on his cell phone and said, "I'm Chang Minghua." A man's voice came from the phone. "Where are you?" Ren-Yee said. "I'm in HuaRong. I'll leave right away." The other side said, "That's good." Both sides hung up. Lu Dingfeng, who was in a hiding place, quickly got the information about Ho Ren-Yee's whereabout. He gave the order to start the next step of the plan. Ren-Yee came to HuaRong long-distance bus station. He stepped on an old bus, which left the station shortly. 10 minutes later, the bus got on a highway. Nobody would stop a bus on a highway, right? Ren-Yee figured. He was tired, and really wanted to get a rest. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Wenhui knew that Ho Ren-Yee had fled. He gave the order to stop all search operations in Wuhan and over the river. Xiao Zichang returned to Wuchang Public Security Branch. He took a shower, changed into clean uniform, and went to his office. He expected that Ho Ren-Yee would have a pistol. But he didn't expect that Ho would shoot and break the engines on Marine 35. Ho obviously received formal shooting training in the United States. Xiao personally took charge in Jiu-Jitsu. If Ho were caught, Xiao would have been a hero. Flowers and fine wines would have come too. But Ho escaped. Furthermore, Ho slipped away under Wang Xinjiang's watch. Xiao Zichang had no place to vent his frustration and anger. Working in the public security system for 20 years, it had been smooth sailing for him except recently, as he failed to perform repeatedly. He felt he had been in his current position for too long, which disgusted him. Why not change to a different job? Xiao Zichang wanted a new position and a new start. However, he also knew he would lose many benefits if he had left the current position. Many people who had flattered him for many years would surely start distancing themselves. Many opportunities for making money would disappear. However, I have no shortage of houses and money. His cell phone rang. Xiao answered. It was Lu Wenhui. "Hello, old Lu. There will a meeting at 6 o'clock. Minister Yo of the Ministry of Public Security and Commander Zhong of the Armed Police Headquarters will be there." Wow! All the heavyweights will be present, with the exception of Secretary of the Central Political and Legal Committee and the party's General Secretary. Xiao asked. "Where will it be?" "In the Provincial Public Security Bureau." "Okay. Please notify Political Commissar Xu." "Sure." The Provincial Public Security Bureau has established a special team for the theft of audio tape. I have recommended you be part of the team. "Sure." "That's good." Lu Wenhui seemed relieved. After the call, Xiao Zichang felt a little uncomfortable, as if he was trapped in something which would cause damage to his career. "I have been deeply involved from the start. What choices do I have?" At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in a conference room, Director Peng, Lu Wenhui, Xiao Zichang, Political Commissar Xu, Minister Yo, Commander Zhong, and a dozen other officials in Hubei Provincial Public Security Bureau discussed the case about the missing tape. The meeting ended in an hour. While people were leaving the room, Lu Wenhui walked up to Xu and asked, "How is Zhang Yuzhen?" "Oh, not good." Political Commissar Xu shook his head. "What is the diagnosis?" "Colon cancer." "She is waiting for further diagnosis." Lu was surprised. "She is still very young." Xu sighed. "I was also very surprised." "How is her husband?" "Looking for job recently." Lu sat down in a chair in despair. He shook his head and sighed. Lu Wenhui grew up from countryside. He liked Zhang Yuzhen and her husband, who also came from humble backgrounds, although they grew up in Wuhan. Zhang's husband used to be a cadre in a state-owned enterprise, which went out of business many years ago. Her husband changed jobs many times, either because companies had business difficulties or some other reasons. Jin Yong-Shee was reliable, dedicated, and very capable. Lu had recognized Sheng's work and promoted her over the years. In the search of Lin Jianhan, Sheng's patient and methodical work led to Qindeming, which was the key of finding the tape. Hearing that Zhang became terminally ill, Lu felt he had broken one of his arms. The person who deserves the big reward fell ill. In the evening, Lu Wenhui returned to his own office, which was on the top floor. Looking through a window, he saw clouds in the sky. He smelled the fresh air after a rainfall. Turning to a different direction, he saw the last glow of a beautiful sunset. The city roads were brightly lit, and lines of automobiles were endless. The storm in the morning paved the way for a beautiful evening sunset. 3 days ago, when Ren-Yee came out of the Jiang'an District Detention Center, he did not commit a violent act. Because Ho was a relative, Lu took some measures to protect him during his detention. Lu sighed. Today is different. Ren-Yee resisted arrest with a gun and damaged police property, which could get him a 10-year prison sentence if he were convicted. Lu gazed at the tops of the 2 towers of the second Yangtze River Bridge in the distance. Maritime 31 hit the bridge pier. Wufeng 16 hit the bridge pier. None had any impact on the bridge. Although Ho was not caught, Lu was confident he would be. An ant wants to move a tree? Ren-Yee is just an ant. The citywide search for Ren-Yee was over. But the search for Lu Dingfeng and his accomplices continued. Lin Jianhan was removed from the hospital after his condition was stabilized. He and Lin Jianyo were put in different cells in Wuchang Detention Center. Although he very much wanted to know everything about Ren-Yee's escape, Jianhan was cut off from all contacts with the outside world. While worried and was lonely, he hoped that Ren-Yee would bring the audio cassette to the United States, and accomplish the mission he and Lin Jianyo had started. Lu Wenhui returned to the command center. A man in charge of monitoring the telephone system reported to Lu. "We just intercepted a call from Ren-Yee." Lu was surprised. "Oh?" A big screen on the upper right corner showed a room in telephone surveillance center, where several men sat in front of a row of monitors. Lu exchanged a suspicious look with an officer who stood close by. He asked a man in the surveillance center, "Are you sure it was from Ren-Yee?" "Yes." It was Ren-Yee's voice. "Was it recorded?" "Yes." Another man began playing the recorded call. First came the sound of a ringtone. Then the voice of Ren-Yee. "Who are you?" A man's voice said. "I'm Little Bao. I'm on the road now. I will see you tomorrow evening." "See you tomorrow?" The call ended. The man said. "The call was made with a mobile phone on a highway near Changsha. It was Ren-Yee's phone. The call was made to a network phone in Kunming." "Ren-Yee made the call on a bus?" "Yes, he did," Lu Wenhui told a man next to him. "Report this information to Director Peng." Minister Yo, Commander Zhong, Director Peng, Xiao Zichang and a dozen other people were in the conference room at the Provincial Public Security Bureau. A map of China was projected on the wall. A clock on the wall showed the time was 8 o'clock in the evening. Minister Yo told his subordinates, "Immediately contact Hunan, Guangxi, and Yunnan Provincial Security Bureaus. Tell them to check all long-distance buses on highways from Changsha to Kunming." The bus that carried Ho probably left Changsha. After receiving the order from the Ministry of Public Security, the director of Hunan Provincial Security Bureau set up a special task force, which started working quickly. It was decided that Ren-Yee had 2 possible routes to Kunming. The first was from Changsha to Xiangtan, then going south through Guilin to Kunming. The second route was from Changsha to Xiangtan, then going west through Shaoyang, Guiyang to Kunming. The director ordered all public security bureaus along the 2 routes to search all long-distance buses and arrest Ren-Yee. At 9 o'clock, in all highway toll stations around Xiangtan, policemen stopped and boarded every bus. They all had Ren-Yee's photo on their cell phones, and checked male passengers one by one. At the same time, police cars moved into a highway toll plaza near Shaoyang. Policemen started inspecting passenger ID cards on all buses. Many police cars parked along a section of a highway near a toll plaza in Hanyang. Policemen boarded every bus searching for Ren-Yee. Thousands of policemen searched all over Hunan province, and could not find Ren-Yee. Around midnight, Ren-Yee napped on his seat in a bus, which cruised on a winding highway. Under the moonlight, one could see rolling hills on both sides of the highway. Police had barriers around the parking lot of Hunan Yongzhou long-distance bus station, so that people and cars can enter and exit from only one gate. Inside the big hall, a clock on a wall indicated the time was 1 a.m. Outside the hall, at least 2 policemen stood next to the door of each bus. All passengers were required to show their ID cards by policemen. A young man wearing a blue and white checkered short-sleeved shirt, and a young woman wearing a dress with purple flowers, were checked by 2 policemen. The man showed his ID card, and passed the inspection. 15 minutes later, the young man and woman came back. The young man looked around carefully. The 2 got into another bus. In the command center of the Wuhan Public Security Bureau, Political Commissar Xu was on duty. The clock on the wall showed the time was 1:20 a.m. A man in the telephone surveillance center's screen shouted. Ren-Yee's cell phone was turned on. Xu asked. "Where is it?" "In Yongzhou, Hunan." Xu told a subordinate next to him. "Immediately report to Director Xiao. It seems that Ren-Yee really wants to sneak out through Yunnan." Around 4 o'clock in the morning, only a few vehicles were on the highway between Yongzhou and Guilin in Guangxi province. Police set up checkpoints on the highway, stopping every bus, car, trucks. Policemen checked everybody's face, looking for Ren-Yee.